Hey, citizens, this is Travis, and I just wanted to throw out a spoiler warning. In this episode, we do talk about some of the events that take place in the Civil War comic series, and we even touch on some Deadpool-related stuff, and even a little bit of Doomsday-related material from Superman. So, enjoy! Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another Real Comic Heroes podcast. I'm Travis.
And I'm Patrick.
And we are...
After this trailer feature episode.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some trailers, and...
Yeah, we're going to talk about three trailers in particularly. One Deadpool Red Band trailer.
Yeah.
And then... Like we were talking about it earlier, it's the one that was came out around Comic-Con.
Right.
And then the next one would be Captain America Civil War.
Yep.
And there's only one trailer for that, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And then the second Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice and whatnot.
Dawn of the Rise of the...
Yeah, I don't know. That title's too long, and I never remember what it is.
Yeah, and there seemed like in the last couple of years, everything was either subtitled Rise of, or Dawn of, or, Return of. Like, there were so many,
I know, I kept thinking, oh, alright, they're going to fight the Planet of the Apes finally.
Yeah. Crossover awesome. I've been waiting for.
Yep. Dr. Zaius versus Superman. He's like the Lex Luthor of apes.
Yeah, he is. It's a good comparison.
Obviously, Grog's got to make an appearance.
Well, yeah.
That's a no-brainer. All right. So you want to kick it off with Mr. Deadpool?
Oh, yeah.
Wait! You may be wondering why the red suit. Well, that's so bad guys can't see me bleed. This guy's got the right idea. He wore the brown pants.
It's a movie I've been waiting for a long time.
You mean you weren't satisfied with Wolverine?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't recall that character being in such a movie.
No, it was Merc with the mouth, get his mouth sewn shut.
Yeah, that was such a... I was so excited for that Wolverine movie because of Deadpool, because it was I read Deadpool for a long time as a kid. That was one of the books that kind of got me into reading comics regularly. And so once I became aware of like Ryan Reynolds, he was my like fan favorite pick to play Deadpool. So it was awesome, It was kind of a letdown when he did Green Lantern, because at the time it was like, well, if he does Green Lantern, then he's not going to do Deadpool. So that was really disappointing,
Well, luckily it sucked too, so...
Yeah. Although I think maybe that Wolverine movie was 2009, and maybe Green Lantern was 2011. So I guess that logic didn't really makes sense because he would have already done Deadpool first. But I think the standalone, when he went from Wolverine to doing Green Lantern, it was kind of dashed our hopes of a standalone Deadpool movie. But so yeah.
What I know about the character is mostly from animated adventures.
Yeah, sure.
And he's like the perfect character for that because he's sort of cartoonish in a way.
Yes, he's very cartoony.
I'm kind of wondering how that's going to translate to live action.
Yeah, because just in the trailers, he breaks the fourth wall and talks to the camera, and that's something he does in the comics. Like in the comics, he is aware that he is a comic book character.
Yeah, it's going to be weird, I think.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know if they'll do that in the movie. If he'll do the Zach Morris like time out and talk to the camera, and so
Time out.
yeah.
Wow. Saved by the Bell reference.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that.
Go Bayside.
Jeez. Okay. Maybe we'll start another podcast.
Yeah. Well, there is actually a Go Bayside podcast.
Gee, of course there is.
Yeah.
There's like a Gilmore Guys, so why not a Bayside one?
Right. And I'm actually listening to Gilmore Guys too. Amanda's listened to all of it. And
did you ever watch the show?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the show, I've watched most of the series with her like years ago. And now we're going through and rewatching it all, so we're like in season 2 right now. And it's, it is a funny show. There's pretty decent writing, and a lot of pretty funny characters. So it's not yeah.
All right. I'll take your word.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
I've seen a couple episodes here and there, but
yeah,
nothing to keep me coming back.
Sure. But I mean, just for our listeners' sake, that Gilmore Guys podcast that you referenced, it's really funny, especially like because one of the guys is like a super fan of Gilmore Girls, and the other, it's like his first time going through it, so it's pretty entertaining to see, to listen to one who's, an uber fan and one person's like, I don't know where this is going or why we should care, but so.
Yeah, that's nice. Somebody that's totally.
But anyways. Yeah. How did we get on Gilmore Girls?
How did we get from Deadpool to Gilmore Girls?
Well, we barely even got into Deadpool. We were
Okay. Well, back to Deadpool.
Yeah.
The trailer.
So, yeah, we watched. I think you already said it, but we watched the Red Band trailer just to, because we can. We're adults.
That's right.
I like that it starts out right off the bat, him talking about, like she says that you can beat the cancer and stuff, and he starts going off about, it's only here, 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 and here, and I don't need those parts or whatever. So it sets the tone pretty well, like him joking about this, life-threatening thing, and that's kind of like the book has a very dark sense of humor, so it's kind of a good sign that the character shows that right off the bat.
Yeah, I noticed that when he's being wheeled around on the gurney.
Yeah.
One of the guys mentions sense of humor is like the thing that will leave first or something like that. And I was like, okay. Well, then something went weird because he came out wacky.
Well, and it's like he sees that as a challenge almost, like, challenge accepted.
Yeah. Actually, I thought it was maybe like something went wrong and he like sort of bypassed the whole mental breakdown portion of the process.
Yeah, if I remember some of the early comics, like his sense of humor was a way for him to deal with, just everything that they had done to him. Because in the comics, it was he had some kind of irreversible cancer or whatever that was completely. It was a death sentence. That's kind of where he got his name from. Was there was a pool, like a bet as far as when he would die, that kind of thing. Like, so he was the Deadpool. But they told him they could turn him into some kind of super soldier to give him this regeneration ability based on Wolverine's healing factor. I don't know if he knew that at the time, but it was.
Yeah, it's pretty vague in the trailer, just says powers that most men about or something. And then I wasn't entirely sure, I mean, does he just get jacked up and tortured physically before he gets his healing ability? Because he looks like, a testicle with teeth.
Well, and that's a constant. Like, the process that they did to him left him physically scarred, like he looks like hamburger meat, That's one of those weird things, like he can heal any wound, he can regrow an arm, he can regrow his head, anything, any kind of wound he can regrow, but that's the one thing he can't regrow is his skin. Apparently, like it's I tend to think of it like, I don't know if you ever watched the old Highlander series. So it's like, they can heal from any wound, but if they got a scar on their face before they became immortal, then they're always going to have that scar. So I think it's like his skin is, to the point where it's, almost like a burn victim. And that is, I guess, before the healing factor kicked in. And so that's just like whenever his healing factor resets him to square one, that's what the baseline is his, So.
Okay, because I mean, at first I thought before I saw the trailer that the cancer made him look that way, like it was just like tumors and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, it's more the cancer treatment that made him look that way.
Because I saw him on the gurney looking normal still.
Right.
You are haunting. You look like an avocado had sex with an older avocado. Thank you.
I was like, oh, all right. Then why the hell does he look like Freddy Krueger?
Yeah. We can jump ahead and just talk about, like, you get to see him, like, pretty nice, bright daytime scene of getting the costume where he's sitting on the bridge, and it's kind of a rare thing that, usually it takes a long time to get a good glimpse of the comic book character in their suit or whatever, and it's rarely that you get it like bright. You see how the colors look. It's usually always in shadows and darkness and all that. And this, with this trailer, they just put them right out, right out in your face, and you get a great look at the costume. And I love the way they did the costume. It looks really, really close to and it's kind of changed throughout the comics. It's, but it's always been red and black and had, basic design that you see here. So they stayed really close to the source material. So that's a nice thing that I'm excited about.
Yeah, I was kind of thrown off by the eyes.
Yeah.
The white, like fabric or something.
I like that they did that. It's in the comics. And most comic book characters have white eyes. Anytime you see someone in a mask, generally they've got white eyes.
Yeah, like Batman and.
Yeah. We've had 7 Batman movies, and they still don't do the white eyes, and it's like,
It just threw me off because I don't think I've ever seen it.
Right. Yeah. So that's something I had in my notes, is that they're doing the white eyes, so it's really I dig that. So.
Like, how did he see?
I think it's like I don't know, if I had to guess, it's like a one-way type of material that he sees through it just fine, but I don't know.
Kind of like a mask that can see through his mouth.
Yeah.
Sort of meshy.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just threw me off when I saw it. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Because I know, like, Batman never did that, or, Spider-Man kind of did, like, weird sunglasses, I guess.
Yeah, and in the comics, they always referred to Spider-Man as having lenses. Yeah. So I think it's pretty close to what they did in the latest movies, giving him, like, actual, lenses kind of thing, but I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, it's just something I was like, I wonder why they did that.
Yeah.
It does look like how it is in the comic book. And,
yeah. I think it is just weird because you can tell that they're animated because they would have, they move too fluidly to be a mask, and I can't tell what if parts of the suit are animated, or not animated, but CGI, because it almost looks fake, but you can tell that there are real parts of it. So I don't know if he's, I don't know. It's if it's mostly CGI, it's really done well.
Well, you asked for it not to be animated.
I know, that's the funny part. Don't make it green or animated. So.
And then it seems to stress the comedic.
Yeah, I wrote down the jokes per minute factor is really high. So
there's some cool action shots, but
yeah,
it's weird. This trailer was a little different than the one I saw originally. It didn't
really?
have, I think his name's Colossus.
Yes, yeah, he's in there.
I didn't see him in the one I watched just recently.
Oh, really?
Or the girl with the wicked-ass bad name, like Rocket something Smasher girl, I don't know.
Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember her from the comics, so I don't know who she is. But yeah, we do get Colossus in there. That's kind of awesome. We've got T.J. Miller playing his like kind of sidekick buddy Weasel, and he was one of the regulars in the comic series that I read from the beginning. So I'm glad to see him and his the black lady with the blind lady that's in his house. That's his prisoner.
That's his prisoner.
Yeah, in the comics, he's like, I forget. I haven't read the series since I was a kid, so I don't remember why or what she did to piss him off. But basically, he would always because she was blind, he would put her into different rooms of the house with death traps, and just that way she wouldn't be able to get out of the house or whatever. She was literally a prisoner in the house that they lived in together. It was always really bizarre. So I don't know if they're going that way with the movie, if, they're going to because it's weird. In the comics, he was always kind of a bad guy, mercenary, and then here in the last, decade or so, they've been really trying to reshape him and become a anti-hero or kind of a good guy. So I don't know how much they'll do the darker sides of his character. So
I would not have guessed that.
Yeah. Blind Owl is her name.
Well, she has a good line.
It reeks like old lady pants in here.
Sounds like you have a dick in your mouth.
At one point, he stole Daredevil's seeing eye dog,
right,
and gave him to her as a companion.
Okay, hold on. He has a seeing eye dog.
Well, I think briefly in the comics, Daredevil did for a little while.
Super dog.
No, just a regular dog.
Oh.
I think his name was Deuce, maybe Deuce Devil Dog or something like that. They called him. I don't know.
I was picturing another Crypto.
Oh, no, yeah.
Okay, just checking. So yeah, there were some decent action shots, like the shot where it lined up a couple of guys in a row.
Yeah, that was kind of nice. He just took the one shot and threw all three of their heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing we got plenty of was a lot of action, a lot of violence, a lot of... and it seemed to just mainly be that one fight scene. It was started out in a car fight scene, and then became a gunfight scene on a bridge. So it was, the bulk of our action came from that.
Yeah.
Seeming.
I did like the line about why he wears red.
Yeah, the red, yeah.
And then the other guy wearing brown pants.
What do you think of his voice? Once he's in the costume,
I like that it's muffled.
I like that it's muffled, but it's really high pitched. It's when he says the line about, it's so bad guys don't see me bleed. It's it almost doesn't sound like Ryan Reynolds,
Yeah,
it just threw me off a little bit, surprised me,
I didn't really think much of it because I thought it was sort of the cartoony personality.
That's true. That's what I wrote down as well, that it was kind of adds to the cartoonishness or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that style of voice from him previously. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, if he's doing that the whole time, I don't know if it'll get annoying.
Right.
But it didn't seem to bother me for the short trailer, at least.
Sure. Yeah.
He kind of has the same vibe when he's talking about Mega Rocket Teenage whatever.
Yeah.
But when he's talking to Weasel, he seems a little bit more normal.
Right. So I'm sure it's just a in persona, in character kind of thing. I mean, it's kind of the opposite of the Christian Bale Batman voice,
That's true.
Swear to me, he's going the opposite route.
I'm Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just broke the wall a few times in that short trailer, and it made me wonder.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder if that's more for the trailer. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that gets cut out of the movie, like about him touching himself, and, you know, that one might just be for the trailer.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see if they do, you know.
Because, you know, he probably knows it's a trailer.
Right, exactly. That's the fun thing about this character, that you can do, you know, things like that, but then he does technically tie into the bigger X-Men franchise. Like, he is a Fox-owned Marvel character, so that's why the Colossus that we see in this trailer is technically the Colossus that, you know, would be in a X-Men movie. So
Logan is Weapon X.
Yes.
What would that make Deadpool, like Weapon 20?
Well, I think in that Wolverine Origins movie, I want to say he was Weapon 11, but I don't know if that is from the comics. I don't remember what his number is. He did go through the weapon. That's the weird thing.
Because, I mean, Wolverine went through it, like, in the 60s or 70s, maybe?
I think in the movies, that's kind of when they said it, like 70s.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did go through the same program, basically. So.
Because I'm trying to think back, and it was at least through the movies, and when he was in the last movie, it was the 60s or 70s, and he still had the bone claws.
Yeah, let me think. In Origins, that was set like in the, I think, early 80s, I think is when it was set.
Okay. Yeah, because the future past X-Men one, it was like, I think it was the 70s or 60s that they were in.
That one was the 70s, because First Class was set in the 60s.
Okay.
Days of Future Past was set in the 70s.
Yeah.
Apocalypse is going to be set in the 80s. So it's kind of cool that they're going through the. I like what they've done with the X-Men franchise, and they're going through the. They're resetting the timeline and all that. I think they're doing pretty well, I think. So.
They're just lucky Hugh Jackman doesn't age.
Right. Yeah.
I think he's closing up shop pretty soon on that character.
Yeah. I think he's got one more Wolverine movie, and then he's done, I think.
Because he's got to be like mid-40s at least.
I wouldn't. I think he's late 40s. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he still, I mean, looks badass. That's now that you say that, it reminds me, he wants to do Old Man Logan. I think that's how he wants to do his last Wolverine movie, is as, you know, in the comics they did an Old Man Logan kind of run where it was him, you know, as like a 60-year-old, or visually looks like a 60 or 70-year-old man, but since he ages so slow, he's probably more like a 300-year-old man or whatever, but...
Nice.
So, yeah.
Kind of like they did with Batman?
Yeah.
Okay. That'd be interesting.
It's we're probably going to get another Deadpool trailer probably soon, because this one came out around Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't tell us much about what the movie's about. You know, we see Deadpool fighting with a bunch of people, and obviously it's an origin story because we see that he goes through the whole process. So you're going to get all that, but aside from that, I don't know what the plot of this movie is. So that's going to be interesting to. I'm sure we'll get another trailer in the next couple of weeks, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first trailer, so it's just, you know, probably whetting the appetite.
Yeah. Got anything else for Deadpool?
No, I think we covered it pretty good.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I will note that I like the woman that is playing his supposed girlfriend, Vanessa. Mm-hmm. She's played by Marina Baccarin, and she's been in, been in a bunch of geek stuff. Firefly, she's in Gotham right now. She's voiced a bunch of stuff for various comic book, like, animated series and shows and stuff, so.
Okay. So she's roots in the genre.
Yeah. And I'm glad T.J. Miller's in it. He's hilarious. So, but no, I think we can move on to what to do next. Civil War.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're a wanted man. I don't do that anymore. Well, the people who think you did are coming right now. They're not planning on taking you alive.
I'll be honest, I don't have a ton of notes because when I start watching this one, I just get sucked in. And this one, I think, does a lot more quick cuts and doesn't have a lot of... It starts out with a lot of dialogue and stuff and kind of setting up some of the characters, but once the action starts, it's basically just a bunch of jump cuts until the last couple frames. So
it opens up with Winter Bucky the Soldier.
Yeah.
He sort of looks like he's hiding out.
Bucky and his Winter Soldiers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's... Did you ever see Ant-Man?
No, I haven't.
Okay, the spoilers, but the... You know how Marvel does a mid-credits little bonus scene, and then lately they've been doing another like post-credits bonus scene. The post-credit on Ant-Man was basically the opening scene of this trailer, where Cap and Falcon are in this dark, maybe a basement kind of room, and they find Bucky. So they just talk about how something about the Accords and not knowing what it means, and then it's a quick scene, so you don't know what's going on, but you do know that because Bucky's there and he's got his arm in that weird contraption that he's pinned with or whatever. So basically, all you get from it is that Falcon and Cap have found Bucky. So, but that's where this trailer starts out with, and Bucky still has his arm pinned in this machine, maybe something that's got his metal arm in a trap or whatever.
Giant magnet.
What's that?
Giant magnet.
Yeah, probably could be. Yeah.
I think I got confused by the trailer because I had a different story in my head.
Okay.
I thought the Civil War was going on because of like registration of sorts.
Yes, that's a big thing in the comics. The whole point of Civil War in the comic books was, let me think of how to break all this down. It was a group of young heroes. They were the New Warriors. They were taking out some villain, someone that was holding someone hostage or something. I don't remember what the situation was. But in the battle, the bad guy, I think his name was Nitro, he had the power to create explosions, and essentially something went wrong, and he decimated an entire town. It was Stanford, it was like the Stanford incident or something, and it was like a so many mile radius that this explosion went off. So it took out, a school full of kids. It took out neighborhoods. It took out, businesses. I mean, it was it took out a town basically. So that was a huge deal, and it was finally it's one thing when Hulk rampages through New York and he knocks down some buildings, which you'd think that would have the same impact because it's a lot of property damage and lives damaged, but they always got around it by saying, well, good thing that abandoned building collapsed or whatever. So, but this was one of those where somehow inadvertently, it wasn't, obviously the heroes didn't want that to happen, but innocent people lost their lives, and it was
collateral damage.
Yeah. So it was one of those things that even though a villain did it, it was people felt that it wouldn't have happened if these costumed heroes were officers of the law. They were acting outside the law, so this whole situation wouldn't have happened if these New Warriors hadn't been, whatever, trained or whatever, registered. So that's what...
Yeah.
At the time, Tony Stark was, I want to say, Secretary of Defense, or he was... I can't remember if he was that or if he was the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the time. But it was kind of his idea that they come up with the Superhuman Registration Act, which was kind of a variation on the Mutant Registration Act that had taken place in the X-Men decades ago. And that didn't work out really well either. So it was kind of funny when some of the Avenger characters came to some of the X-Men characters and said, "Hey, will you guys be on our side?" And the X-Men were like, "Well, you guys weren't on our side when they were trying to round us up and register us as mutants. So you guys have fun with your little, squabble. Leave us out of it."
Yeah.
So that was kind of the incident that divided, the public and the government, and the heroes. So Iron Man was obviously on the side of registration, and he had had his group that backed him, and then on the opposite side of it, you have Captain America, and you kind of expect him to be the one on the side of the government, just because of who he is. But it seems more times than not, Captain America is usually on the side against the government. He's there to not just go along with whatever the government says, but he's there to challenge, make sure things are done right, and because his side of it was, if someone unmasks themselves, then their family is in danger. So it's
that and the whole registration thing is very Nazi-ish.
Yes, you're taking away civil liberties, you're taking away, the right to privacy, but then you've got Tony's side that, if these guys are going to potentially be, have the powers of gods in some case, then they should be trained and they should be, held accountable, because I think a lot of times in comics that they knock a building down or they blow something up and they just leave, and it's for the
Shield
the city or town or whoever to fix the damage. The heroes don't tend to stick around and help clean up after their messes a lot of times, even if the messes are created by their villains. So
yeah, I remember watching something that sort of focused on the people that clean up after the hero.
Yeah, they did a comic series, I think in like the 70s, and then they kind of brought it back a couple around the World War Hulk time, but it was called like Damage Incorporated.
Yeah.
And it was basically that they were the group that would come in and clean up after the massive fights that the Avengers or whoever would have.
Yeah, I remember they had like high-tech gear to help them.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering right.
Yeah, I never really read it, but I've heard of it. But
yeah, I think they must have done something like a nod to it in an animated series or something, because I never read I didn't even know it was a comic book.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
But I must have seen it somehow.
Yeah, I know that they've recently talked about doing another TV show, like on ABC, like with Shield, like doing a Damage Incorporated. Doing a Damage Incorporated TV show that's more of a comedy, kind of like The Office. So it'd be an Office style comedy based around the group of people that have to go around and clean up after Hulk and Thor and all those. So
it'll be like more lightning strikes. Geez.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, the trailer made it sound like it was more of a squabble between Cap and Iron Man and Bucky, like a weird triangle.
Right. It's the inclusion of Bucky in this is a little strange to me, because they make it seem like that they're coming for him. Obviously, that's pointed out in the beginning of the trailer, is that they are coming to take in Bucky, I guess to answer for his, because in between Captain America and Winter Soldier, he had been, taken by the Russians, retrained, brainwashed, all that, and used as a sleeper agent basically, and they would send him out to do the dirty work, and assassinate people or whatever needed to be done. So I guess that's what they're wanting him to answer for.
So is he like the Stanford incident himself?
Kind of, but
I hear that general guy talking about responsibility and...
Yeah, and I know that at one point when they're talking to General Ross, and he was in the Incredible Hulk movie, so it's kind of cool to see him back. when they were in his, I guess, meeting room, briefing room, or whatever, he slid like a giant, paper stack bound, little report to Captain America, it looks like, and it says if you slow it down or you pause it, on the cover it says the Sokovia Accords, and Sokovia is the country that had the incident in Avengers: Age of Ultron. Did you see that one? Okay, so when they lift that entire city in the sky, that's Sokovia. So that, I think, has taken place for the Stanford incident. I think that, on top of the Battle of New York and Avengers, and I think just all of these events, have all added up into those events are taking place, or, are replacing the Stanford incident, because part of the problem with the Stanford, reason to launch Civil War is that was a mutant thing in the comics, and because Marvel can't use mutants, then they have to come up with a new, entirely new reason for Civil War. I think that's why they're doing away with the superhero registration part of it.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
but the core of it is still there. You've still got a group of heroes on one side and a group of heroes on the other side. And
I paused it to see who was with Cap.
Yeah.
It looked
who did you notice?
I saw Hawkeye. Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
Bucky, and Eagle Man. I can't think of his name.
Falcon. Yeah. Yeah.
So it seemed like people that were mostly human, except for the witch lady that's kind of mutantish.
Yeah. In the comics, she's a mutant, but for Marvel's purposes, for the movies, she is what they call a miracle. Her and her brother were miracles. So.
Yeah, 'cause I thought they were somehow related to Magneto.
In the comics, yeah, they are. They're his children, but I think they've retconned that in the recent comics,
Okay.
and taken that away from him. He was never really their father. They just always thought he was, or something like that.
Okay.
So that's just trying to get around all the legal, all the rights issues and stuff. So
comic books are complicated.
They are, yeah. That's the one good thing about DC is they've got all their stuff in with Warner Brothers, and they don't have to fight over, well, you can't use Fantastic Four because we've got them over here at Fox, and you can't use, I am glad that Sony worked out an arrangement with Spider-Man to get him, because the new Spider-Man will be in Civil War.
Yeah, that's what I remember hearing.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. And he was a big player in the Civil War comics because he started out, he was living in Stark Tower at the time because, Tony kind of persuaded him to set an example for the side of registration. So Peter Parker came out and, called a press conference, or Spider-Man called a press conference, and he takes off his mask and says, announces to the world, I'm Peter Parker. I've been Spider-Man since I was 15 years old.
And
yeah,
has an aneurysm.
What's that?
J. Jonah Jameson has an aneurysm.
Pretty much, yeah. That was an interesting part of the comics is that I think it might have been Dr. Octopus who was like, wait, you mean to tell me all this time I was, being beaten by a kid? Like it, it didn't set well with a lot of his, enemies that they were getting their asses handed to them by a 15-year-old at the start. So, but yeah, he was like the poster boy of registration. So he gives up his entire identity. He has to move Aunt May and Mary Jane. They have to move into the Stark Tower just for safety.
Yeah.
Tony Stark hooks up Spider-Man with, a crazy technical armor suit. Like it's got like spider legs that come out of the back and all that, and all kinds of other like technical little gizmos and stuff. And so for a while, it was, they were Spider-Man was like in Tony's pocket, kind of, and then eventually Spider-Man kind of came around and realized that maybe he wasn't on the right side, and kind of then later on rejoined with Captain America. So I don't know if they're going to do that, in this, but that'll definitely be interesting. I'm really excited to get that first look at what he looks like. So. Cool. And I don't know if they filmed much with Spider-Man, and there's so many characters in this movie that he may just be in there as not necessarily an Easter egg, but he may just be in there as like a cameo, kind of brief little, I don't know, but we'll see. But
you just see webbing around the battle scene.
Right? Yeah.
You never actually see him.
Yeah. Let's see. On the side of Tony. In this, you've got Black Widow, you've got War Machine, his buddy, and then the one I'm most excited about is Black Panther.
Oh, okay.
And we get to see a little bit of him, in the trailer, and he's at one point either running towards something or running away from Cap, but he's running faster than cars, so it's definitely he's definitely got some kind of abilities,
Interesting.
Yeah, and he is, let's see, you saw Age of Ultron. Yep. So in the scene where they're on the old, like, derelict ships or whatever in South Africa, that is supposed to be, like, in the kingdom of Wakanda.
Yeah, the vibranium.
Yes, where all the vibranium comes from. Yeah, and that is the kingdom of Black Panther. So Black Panther at least in the Ultimate Universe comics, the Black Panther is more of like a title of the king gains the power of the Black Panther, and that's usually passed down from like father to son kind of thing. So it'll be interesting if they do that with this as well. So that's kind of an awesome idea.
Okay.
So
that leaves out Thor and the Hulk.
What's that?
So where do the other two line up?
Well, the convenient thing about those two is that Hulk at the end of Age of Ultron went off in his own little, Quinjet and is kind of exiling himself.
Okay.
I think that they did that because no matter which side Hulk would be on, it's kind of a given who's gonna win a fight.
Yeah.
So and then same reason with Thor, you've got him at the end of Age of Ultron. He said he needed to go and discover some things, and because those weird like flashback or like dream sequences that he had with him in the pool or whatever was going on there, like he felt like he needed to be in Asgard, and so basically you've got those two, the big heavies, are elsewhere doing other things. So conveniently they're not going to be in this movie, just so that but we do still have characters like Vision. I think Vision is on Iron Man's side. Who else? There's Ant-Man. Ant-Man is on Captain America's side.
Sorry, Tony. I wouldn't do this if I had any other choice. But he's my friend. So was I.
So it's going to be a big movie with a lot of characters. So I'm really really excited about it. So yeah. I don't know if I had any other notes for Civil War, but you got anything else?
No, ready for Batman v Superman v this v that.
Mr. Wayne, Clark Kent, Daily Planet.
What's your position on the Bat Vigilante in Gotham? Civil liberties are being trampled on in your city. People living in fear. He thinks he's above the law.
The Daily Planet criticizing those who think they're above the law is a little hypocritical. What'd you say? Considering every time your hero saves a cat out of a tree, you read a puff piece editorial about an alien who could burn the whole place down.
Most of the world doesn't share your opinion, Mr. Wayne.
Maybe it's Gotham City and me. We just have a bad history with freaks dressed like clowns.
Yeah, I don't like the V. I wish it would have been called Batman Superman World's Finest, but that's just an old comic book thing. So
I feel like it should have been called Batman Superman Tumultuous Romance.
Yeah. Actually, what it should have been called was they should have just worked in the name Trinity somewhere in the title, like because the Trinity in DC is Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So that would have been a nice,
I always lumped in the Flash with them for some reason.
Yeah, and typically your standard Justice League roster is usually the big seven, which is Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, and then it always kind of is a revolving door of you got Aquaman, recently you got Cyborg, Martian Manhunter, Hawk Girl. I know in the animated Justice League she was one of the members, so it's just, but usually like 7 people typically round out the Justice League, but
okay, so yeah, well, I guess we sort of jumped the gun and said Wonder Woman's in this one.
yeah, and that's they showed her in the previous teasers and the previous trailer, like you get a brief little glimpse of Wonder Woman. So I was actually disappointed that we didn't get more Wonder Woman in this because they teased her in the last couple like teasers and trailers and whatever, and I was really hoping for a big meaty scene with her, I don't know.
It was kind of a weird, it was jarring because it went from super serious, like weird alternate universe looking thing with Superman having people bow before him.
Yeah.
And saying he could have killed Bruce Wayne anytime he wanted, and then all of a sudden it's like, I thought she was with you. I was like, what? What?
Yeah, that line of, though, I wish she was with you, it's like, come on. If that's going to be your response to seeing Wonder Woman for the first time, it's like, that just line, I've heard that line in other things. It's like, that's just it's just weak writing, I think.
It jarred me out of, like, the seriousness of the beginning of the trailer.
Yes. Well, let's talk about the beginning, I guess. That's, I like that, and if you watch the first trailer, it kind of helps that you see the big reason that Bruce Wayne is so against Superman is that he watched one of his buildings, like I think it's Wayne Financial, in the Battle of Metropolis. Bruce was there. He was in Metropolis, and he runs into the smoke and into the scene as I think it's really smart to have the battle between Superman and Zod. Part of that took place inside of a Wayne building, and when Zod unleashes his heat vision for the first time, that is what takes out Wayne's building. And it's not that Bruce Wayne, I think, cares about a building. It's that there are people in that building that are employees of his, probably friends, So that's what, that's why Batman is versus Superman in this. And I think it's really smart, a very clever way to use the first movie to bridge that, and make that make sense. So
yeah, still not yet on board with Lex Luthor.
Boys, Bruce Wayne meets Clark Kent. I love it. I love bringing people together. How are we?
Lex.
Hi, hello, Lex. It is a pleasure. Ow, wow, that is a good grip. You should not pick a fight with this person.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like Lex Luthor.
Right. I don't mind the quirkiness, but it is weird. And the few times in the trailer that we hear Lex, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex speak, they all sound different. So, at the party at the beginning of the trailer when he introduces, when he introduces himself to Clark and Bruce, it's very high pitched, and he's very like, I don't know, just jovial and
yeah, he's very, I don't know,
very animated. Yeah.
Like, ooh, don't pick a fight with this guy.
Yeah. It's a little too in your face of like,
I like the cocky, arrogant
it's
Lex Luthor.
Right. But then you get some of that when Lex is talking to, it's a scene where he's talking to some senator later on, telling her about, the biggest secret, the world's ever known or whatever, and then talking, and the scene where you get him saying, if you can't kill what does he say?
If man can't kill God, then devil.
Man, yeah, like that does not sound like the same Lex that is in the beginning. So I'm fine with a Lex that has a public persona and a dark side, a private persona. So I'm fine with that because that's the way all these characters basically behave. It's the same way that Bruce Wayne acts when he has a public persona, and so does Clark Kent. So I'm okay with that.
See, it's just so drastically different.
Yeah, it's jarring.
The animated series that I've seen, he's going to be president, but he's still Lex Luthor. Like he's still cocky and very sure of himself. But this one, he almost seems like he's a bumbling goofball.
Yeah. And this one, I think they are aiming for that young, tech, tycoon kind of thing. I think they're kind of basing it off of a mixture of Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg. They're going for that quirky, weird, obviously younger approach with the character. So it's different. I'm excited to see what he does in the rest of the movie, but so far he's not my favorite part of what I've seen for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't have. There's really nothing about this trailer or anything I've seen that I hate. So it's not to that level. So
yeah, and then it seems to jump around with that weird futuristic or alternate universe scene where Superman's the Overlord. It looks like.
Oh yeah, his disciples or whoever they are. Yeah, that's a weird scene.
And Batman's in a trench coat, like he's a Western.
I know. I kind of dig it though, because in the comics you've always got Batman in kind of different. It's not just Batman in one suit. I like that he's got the armor to fight Superman. He's got his regular Batman costume that he typically always wears, but then he's got desert fatigues.
Yeah.
I kind of dig that. I mean, it
threw me off. I was like, wait, are we in an alternate universe where it's sort of like a Western theme?
Yeah.
And Superman seemed extra dark.
Yeah, that's probably my biggest complaint with all the material I've seen so far, is that there's no love for Superman whatsoever. And Superman should be your character that the majority of the people love. He should be, I don't know, held in higher esteem. And it's like all we've seen of him is the government doesn't trust him. They want him to come to these trials or hearings or kind of answer for kind of basically it's putting all the blame on him for what happened in Metropolis. Then you've got Batman, who cannot stand Superman, and there's nothing that paints Superman in a good light in any of the material they've shown so far.
There's a small snippet when Clark and Wayne are talking, and there's the fluff pieces that Wayne says he's writing, but Clark says, well, not everyone agrees with you.
Yeah.
And that's about as positive as it gets for Superman.
Right, and we see him save the rocket that is exploding, and obviously the people that are in the flooded out house, he's obviously coming down to save them, but
and then
Michael's
in the tunnel that liked him.
You're right, yeah, they're apparently on his side. They've got his insignia on their shoulders or whatever. So that's something I don't know how they fit in. That's kind of an interesting part of it.
And then the thing I didn't see coming was what they did with Zod.
Man won't kill God. The devil will do it.
What have you done?
Yeah, that has been like rumored for a while now. That in the first trailer they showed that Lex had Zod's body, so that wasn't a shock. But it's like, yeah, what is he doing with with Zod's body? That people were pretty much from the get-go, people were jumping to conclusions about, is it Doomsday? Are they doing a Bizarro thing? Yeah. So, and it definitely looks like Doomsday, or a version of Doomsday.
That was the thing that confused me, because I thought Doomsday was its own entity from space.
Well, Doomsday originated on Krypton. He was some mad scientist took this Kryptonian baby, put it into a harsh environment, and then waited for it to die. And it, he did this like hundreds and thousands of times. He would take the remains and would clone it into essentially a new fetus or a new baby, then put it back out there into the wasteland or wherever, and then every time it died, be it exposure or gotten attacked by an animal or whatever, he would take the remains, reclone it, so then every time he made a clone, it would basically have, he was forcing evolution, so it would know how to like handle every situation, that it encountered to that point. So he's basically creating a ultimate unstoppable killing machine that, if you put it in an Arctic environment, it would somehow, regulate its body to,
Okay.
I don't know. You know what I mean?
Sort of doing a weird version of that with Lex as the crazy mastermind.
I don't know. I don't know what and that makes me think maybe it's not, maybe they're not flat out doing Doomsday. Maybe they're doing a Bizarro that kind of looks like Doomsday. Because if you think about it, if Doomsday was originally a Kryptonian baby, then Doomsday and Zod and Superman all kind of share the same genetic, lineage, basically, same genetic structure. So if you altered Zod, maybe he would look like some kind of monster, but really he's not Doomsday. He's a Bizarro version. And I know for a movie they're never going to call him Bizarro. That's just too silly of a name. And this movie has set the tone that it's not, silly in any way. So I think they might be doing a cross between Bizarro and Doomsday. So you've got this Doomsday character that's like the ultimate killing machine because it's evolved over, countless generations, basically, of being able to adapt to any situation. So, but that's what makes me surprised that they would be going with Doomsday this early, because that could be its own movie, So I'm not convinced that this is Doomsday in the sense of, the Doomsday that comes from space and just seeks out Superman and kills him, you know. So I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. I don't love the look of Doomsday.
Yeah, it was odd.
I've as soon as I watched it, like I watched it this morning, and basically went on Twitter and everything just to kind of see what other people's reactions were, and a lot of people were taking. There's a moment in the new Ninja Turtle movie where Michelangelo is like teasing April O'Neil or something, and basically in their body positions are almost close enough, and people have been taking like photoshopping Michelangelo's orange mask and putting it onto Doomsday or Zod or whatever, and it matches up pretty close. And in whatever we call him, I've just been calling him Doomsday for ease of whatever, but he does kind of look like just a further mutated Ninja Turtle. So hopefully they work on him. You know, they've still got like 6 months or something before the movie comes out. So if they're making him Doomsday, I hope they take him even further and add more bones popping out of his skin and all that stuff. And because right now I'm a little underwhelmed. If he is Doomsday, I'm underwhelmed with how he looks. And my first reaction was, before I even saw anyone mention the Ninja Turtle thing, I thought he looked like Abomination from the end of the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton. Kind of the big, you know, and that's kind of the same thing. You took his enemy from the first part of the movie, and he gets genetically altered and transformed into this, you know, hulking monster with bones sticking out of his skin, and that's what Abomination was. So it's kind of what I was reminded of. So that's kind of, I don't know. Yeah. So I would have rather not had any Doomsday or Doomsday-like character in this movie whatsoever, and just had it be somehow like just have it be Lex pulling the strings. And you know, I guess they need a big bad enemy for them to fight.
I think that's what everyone's complaining with Superman, that he's always fighting some old bald white guy.
Right. So but, I get why they have him in here, but I don't know. They could have done a different character, or
I thought he looked like a buffed up Voldemort.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, kind of featureless. Yeah, featureless
and pale and very Voldemort-y.
Right.
So I was confused by that character. I was like, I guess it's Doomsday.
Yeah, that's the rumor, and I've heard convincing reasons why it's either Bizarro or Doomsday. So I've heard one site that I read said, you know, they're not wasting Doomsday, or they're not using Doomsday this early. You know, that's just that it basically is Bizarro. So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. I do like the idea, though, that they took Zod's body and are using it to either make clones or, you know, modify it, basically turn him into a Frankenstein's monster. You know, I'm on board with that. That's fine.
Maybe I just can't remember how the Superman movie ended, but I'm surprised Superman let Zod's body get taken.
Yeah, they don't really show what happens after he breaks his neck. I think they just cut to another, you know, the next scene. They don't show what happens at that point. But yeah, you would kind of think that Superman most likely would have taken his body, flown it out to space, maybe, you know, let him
in the sun.
Yeah. So that is a little strange that the government would have gotten their hands on, or Lex would have gotten his hands on the body. So but what else? I love that you get to see Wonder Woman. Like I said, you know, we do get her in this trailer, and she's probably the one thing I'm looking forward to the most in this movie. I'm really excited about Wonder Woman. I think it's, you know, it's the time, you know, it's the right time to have her in the movies, and the actress that they have playing her, Gal Gadot, she looks awesome. I've only seen her in the 1 or 2 of the last Fast and Furious movies, and I've actually enjoyed her in the movies. So, you know, she's definitely the one thing I'm looking forward to the most, and getting a glimpse at the new Aquaman. So, but I don't like that. So when you see Doomsday, and he's about to unleash his heat vision on Batman, who kind of appears to be maybe locked into the Batmobile. Like, it looks like he can't get out, or he's stuck or something. What he does is put his hands up in front of his face as if he's going to block Doomsday's heat vision. And then that's, of course, when we get Wonder Woman. You know, she's there to shield Batman and everything. And I'm on board with that. What I don't like is that, you know, the Batman that I've read and the Batman that, you know, I imagine in my head, he would have had an escape plan. He would have had something. He would have done something else than put his hands up in front of his face as if he was going to block, you know, Like, that's not, to me, that's not Batman, you know? And I know it's just your human instinct probably kicks in and you just block a shot like you would if someone was going to punch you, but, you know, that's just not what... I don't like that his instincts were to sit there and put his hands in front of his head and, you know, wait for the, you know...
Well, I thought Wonder Woman was going to do the ching thing with her gauntlets.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, and maybe just the way they cut the trailer, that it appears that Batman was trying to block heat vision, but so maybe I'm being too harsh on him for something that may just appear that way in the trailer. So maybe it's completely different in the movie, but
yeah, I wonder if she dropped in from her invisible jet.
Oh, could be.
I've never understood that part.
No, it never made sense.
Because you can see her just sitting, flying around.
Right? Yeah, she just sits and flies in a sitting position.
Because can't she fly?
Well, they've kind of retconned her to be able to fly. In the early days, she couldn't fly. That's why she had the jet.
Yeah.
So, but now in the comics, yes, she can fly. I don't know. They haven't shown enough of her in action, you know, to reveal if she can fly or can't. But so that'll be exciting. And that they're currently filming her movie right now, so I'm glad that that's getting going. So let's see. I think I've gone through all my notes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's just so many good frames in this trailer. You get a lot of good action, a lot of fighting between Batman and Superman, you know. So it definitely looks like most of the movie is going to be them at odds with each other, because we've got them fighting with Batman in his armored costume. We've got them, you know, interacting in his normal costume. So we've definitely got a lot of scenes with them together. We've got, you know, the nods to, well, he even says, you know, when he's talking to Clark Kent that, you know, he's dealt with, you know, freaks dressed like clowns. So that's a nice little nod to the Joker.
Yeah. I was wondering though, the suit he wears to fight Superman. It's supposed to be kryptonite powering it or something. Like, how is a metal?
No. This Batman. I mean, he's in the comics, anyways. He's got some kryptonite, but he doesn't use it as to power a suit. Lex does have I think a kryptonite powered suit that he uses in the comics. It's generally like this giant, you know, purple and green, you know, Iron Man suit that he wears.
Yeah, I know there's a robot guy that has a kryptonite heart, basically.
Yeah, Metallo. Yeah. Which that's who I want to see in a Superman movie. I think he would be a great villain for Superman. So
yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my head around how the suit can hold up to Superman.
Yeah,
I feel like
I don't know.
Needs to have weakened Superman for.
Well, the thing about Batman is he knows inherently that Clark. Well, later on, at least he knows that Clark deep down is a good person, and even on the surface is a good person. So he knows that he doesn't have to. You know, he could take on Superman without the armor because he knows Clark isn't going to kill him.
Yeah.
You know. But
so it's just.
So I think Batman. Yeah, Batman knows any opponent's weakness, you know, and with Superman, it's that he's not going to kill, unless you're Zod and you're.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only way out. So.
Yeah, the '70s movie, don't they just put him back in the mirror?
Some roundabout way, yeah. They re-banish him into the Phantom Zone. But even in Superman, at the end of Superman 2, he does kill Zod and Ursa and Non by just dropping them into they basically depowers them and lets them fall, you know, to the bottomless pit at the Fortress of Solitude. So, you know, it's not the first, you know, version of Superman that's ever killed. So I never had a problem with the Superman killing Zod in Man of Steel. So.
Well, he's like killing somebody on his own level, I guess.
Right. So.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't have anything else on it.
Okay, yeah, I got all my notes covered. I didn't like when when Clark and Bruce first essentially meet each other, that it's like they automatically don't like each other. And at this point, neither of them should suspect that the other person is, Batman or Superman. So these are just two guys meeting each other. So I don't like that Clark is coming down on Bruce Wayne for some Bat vigilante terrorizing Gotham, as if that's Bruce Wayne's fault, and I don't like Bruce, coming down on Clark for his city's savior being a, alien that, so it's at this point, maybe they already knew who each other were, but based on what we see in the trailer, at this party, Superman or Clark doesn't even know who Bruce Wayne is when he gets out of the car. So I don't like that they're instantly dicks to each other, Yeah,
I thought Clark would have asked, about maybe Wayne's building collapsing.
Yeah, or find out,
a common
so I don't
incident.
Know. Right.
But I don't know how much time's passed.
Yeah, I don't know if they've said. So I get the feeling it may be a couple years, but could be more like within a year of the last movie, so hard to say.
Yeah. Well, I think we had a pretty good trailer-tastic episode.
Yeah, we went for a little while, but I think we got a lot of good discussion in.
Good.
So yeah, and these we may be, I think we said in the last one that we may be relying on these Skype sessions for a little while, just because it's with the holidays coming up, weekends are really busy and really tough to get together to do our in-person sessions. So these may be coming out via Skype a little more regularly. So for the listener, it really shouldn't matter because they'll just be downloading them, sometime throughout the week. But for us, it'll be maybe a little less frequent, and maybe we'll do Skype sessions throughout the week or something. So
that's the plan. Should be all right.
Yeah. So when we get together next time, we should be talking about Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. Can't wait.
So
get to see tiny little ape baby maybe in action. I don't know. He rises up and kicks some butt. Looks like a Apes/Rambo movie.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a lot of right. Something like that.
I hope it's like that.
That fits. Yeah.
Just a revenge movie.
Right. Yeah.
That'd be tight. He turns into a Batman-esque character because they killed his parents.
Right. Oh, that'd be great. Just see an ape with a bat costume for no apparent reason.
That'd be awesome.
Bat ape.
Yeah, Bat ape. Or ape bat.
Right.
I don't know, we'll work on it.
Yeah. That's our next idea. So, all right. Well, why don't we wrap this up? And I don't know. So I guess in the meantime, our listeners can shoot us an email. We're at realcomicheroes@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and those places you can find us. Just search for Real Comic Heroes. But I think that'll do it for this session.
Okay, we'll see you guys again in a more ape-tastic fashion.
Yeah.
I know you've been waiting for it. More apes.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see you guys later then.
Yep. Thanks for listening. And we're out.
We gotta work on a closer.
I know, we do.
You're the very passionate Gilmore Girls fan.
Yeah, yeah. It's my one true love.